My most memorable year is the year I was injured. I was driving a Humvee in Iraq when my front left tire went over a landmine.
The last thing I remember is being in Iraq and feeling and thinking my life was going to end. The next biggest thing I remember is just seeing my mother. And then about a week later, asking the nurse to see my face and my body for the first time. And I picked my head up and I don't know, I just froze for, a couple seconds and just long enough to turn my head to each direction just to look, to see how bad it was. I became depressed, I had regret. I started to blame, I started to question. It didn't make sense to me why I was 19 years old and why my life was completely upside down.
I just thought to myself, I would have been better off if I wouldn't have survived. It was a tough time in my life, and I felt that there was no one else in this world that could actually understand where I was coming from, that could understand the pain that I was feeling.
I stayed awake at night in my hospital bed, and when everybody was gone and all the lights were off, and I just cried. I felt that's the only thing I could do. And I remember my mother, telling me that, whoever was going to be in my life, for whatever reason, they were going to be in my life because of who I am as a person and not what I looked like, because she knew that was a big concern of mine. And something about those words was, sharp enough to kind of really stick. That moment, I chose. I don't know why, I just chose in that moment to fight and just to try to be upbeat, try to be positive every single moment from that day on.
The song we're dancing to this week is Tim McGraw, If You're Reading This. The song is about a soldier that sends a letter home, and if the spouse is reading this letter, that means that he didn't survive war. There's a lot of men and women, there's a lot of families out there that don't get that second chance. So for me, this dance is a tribute to the men and women that didn't make it home.
I just want people to say that was a beautiful dance.
Dancing the Rumba, J.R. Martinez and his partner Karina Smirnoff.
If you're reading this halfway around the world, I won't be there to see the birth of our little girl. I hope she looks like you, I hope she fights like me, and stands up for the innocent and the weak. I'm laying down my gun, I'm hanging up my boots. Tell Dad I don't regret that I followed in his shoes. So lay